Hi, welcome to podcast episode 1, Manifesting My Health, and how I used mindset to transform my weight loss journey. I lost over 50 pounds in 2022, but it wasn't just about workouts or the diet. It was about how I changed my mindset. Today, I want to share how manifesting played a key role in my journey. Hi, I am Carrie Helmer. Welcome to Project U 2.2, where we explore mindset, motivation, and moving through life transitions with purpose. Let's talk about the word manifesting for a few minutes. I do not believe in manifestation magic, and I hear so much about manifesting as if it's wishing something into existence. And for me, manifestation is all about connecting with myself, but on a deep psychological level, but then taking consistent action. Manifestation is a psychological alignment where we implant our goals and beliefs into our subconscious mind. This helps our minds recognize opportunities, stay motivated, and just guide all of our decisions. When we consistently visualize and affirm our goals, we're telling our subconscious mind what's important. Our brain starts working to help us achieve our goals. And don't get me wrong, I do believe in a higher power, and recently I was on a retreat with 7 strangers where we went to Greece and Italy. And on my first morning, we went for a walk, and I was missing home a little bit. And so I prayed to find a rock. The Mediterranean is filled with rocks, and I wanted a rock that would just remind me of home. So as I was waiting in the Mediterranean that first morning, I bent down after about 22 seconds of asking for a rock, and I picked up one that looked just like my home state of Michigan. And if you don't know, Michigan is shaped like a mitten. And to find a rock in that same formation was unbelievable and a little bit breathtaking. It took my breath away. And then right next to it was another one that looked like a heart. And so I had to pick those up, take a picture of them, and really just give thanks for finding those, because they really help set me on just a positive path for that trip. So for years, I felt completely stuck and frustrated with my weight, and I tried so many diets. I did LA Weight Loss, Weight Watchers. I did one through a gym where you had high proteins all week, and then you got a cheat day. I did cleanse juices, you name it. I did so many. And as a teacher, every summer I'd have this mindset that this was going to be my summer and I was going to be on another health journey. And so I'd exercise. Some summers I would do 4 hours of exercises every morning. Others I'd go for runs. I'd ride my bike. And I would constantly replay this mantra in my head as I was walking or running, that nothing tastes as good as skinny feels. And I would lose weight. But then as soon as the school year started again, I would gain it back. And I was just so focused on giving of my time, my emotions, my support, my heart to my students. And all of my energy was going to them and to raising our 3 boys. And I would completely lose myself. My health and my needs always came last. And my weight reflected this. It wasn't until our boys were grown. Our youngest was 16, and I was nearing the end of my 31-year teaching career, and I finally felt like I had time to focus on me. And that's when everything changed. And I just prioritized my health. I changed my mindset, and I gained so much joy. I learned that it wasn't about punishment. It wasn't about taking things away and restricting myself, but it was about reconnecting with myself and taking deliberate steps in action and finding joy in the journey. And that's when the concept of manifestation set in, and I used it as a psychological tool. So just a quick science lesson. One of my best friends is an AP biology teacher, so she is always giving me tidbits, so I have to include this. Our brains rewire themselves based on repeated thoughts and actions. It's called neuroplasticity. So I visualized the life I wanted. I visualized myself thinner. I visualized myself being able to wear clothes that fit comfortably, visualized wanting to go shopping, visualized looking in the mirror and not hating what I saw, visualized seeing pictures of myself that my boys would take and not hating them or not wanting to hide behind them in pictures. And quite frankly, they were all right around the 6-foot mark. So there's no hiding behind them in pictures anymore. And so I just visualized the life I wanted and planted those goals into my subconscious. And I had to do the daily actions to get me there. There's another term in science called cognitive priming, which just means that if we focus on our goals, we notice things or opportunities that we might have missed otherwise. Which reminds me of the rocks that I found in the Mediterranean. So on my weight loss journey, I listened to health and weight loss podcasts. Every night they'd put me to sleep. I just turned my little timer on my AirPods and have it just put me to sleep. And part of me just hoped that like my subconscious mind would just hear that for an hour every night. And then I would go on walks and listen to more podcasts. And I made a 2-mile walk part of my daily routine. And I promised myself that I wouldn't force myself to run or I wouldn't have to do 4-hour workouts that exhausted me. But I could just enjoy being outside, getting healthy motion in, and taking our dog for a walk. I also read and studied about health habits. And so habit formation is where we pair our mindset work with consistent action to reinforce behavior change. So for me, everything started to align here. And for the first time, losing my weight wasn't just working, but it was also becoming a joyful process for me. And I learned that I couldn't get too comfortable when I reached my goal, and I would always have to put myself in check because health and fitness are not final destinations, but they are always a work in progress. So an analogy I liked was one day I was walking and I was looking at different lawns in our neighborhood, and I saw some that were lush and green, and I saw others that had weeds and others that were just dead and dying. And it really made me think about health journeys and how we don't just plant the seed or put down sod and then expect it to be perfectly green all year. We have to mow it, we have to fertilize our lawns, we have to water it, and sometimes weather conditions affect the progress. My husband loves to take care of our lawn and it looks amazing, but he takes care of the lawn. He is consistently out there working on it to make it look like one of the best lawns in the neighborhood. There are seasons when the grass grows quick, and sometimes it looks like nothing is happening, but he's still out there. I've even seen him in Michigan mowing our yard in December just so he could say he mowed it and give it some attention. The lawn is always a work in progress. Our body and minds require the same daily attention, care, and patience. As a math teacher, I wanted exponential weight loss. I wanted quick results so I could get back to my healthy weight and then go back to my old habits. And I knew I couldn't do that this time. I'd learned that too many times before. I wanted to be at a healthy weight. I wanted to fit in fun clothes and find my joy again. Progress isn't exponential. It isn't even linear. Some weeks are harder than others, but every step helps and contributes to reaching our goals. When I did my weight loss journey, I was lucky enough to have my sister do it with me, and our mom even jumped on board. Whatever method you choose, it's a personal choice. We chose to do one that had 5 snacks laid out. The packages were portioned, and for me, it was just easy and didn't involve any food prep time. That was key for me during my busy school year and being a mom of 3 boys. There are always struggles, and I didn't drink alcohol during this time, so when I'd go to book club or out with friends, I had to transition to club soda with lime. And did I love it? No. But I knew it was helping me, and it was a step in the right direction. And I knew that that part was temporary and that I'd be able to trust myself and include some things back into my life after I created some of those healthy habits. I also had to give up snacking, and I made my dinners easy. I would just buy rotisserie chicken and veggies, or I would make taco meat with a salad. I knew I couldn't make things too hard because making it easy was critical for me to stay consistent. And I also journaled. I ended up creating my own journal that I kept on my counter so that it was out in clear view every day, all day, just in eyesight. And I would document. I just made easy checklists and I just held myself accountable. The scale also becomes something that I force myself to check in with weekly. And I had a little section in my journal with daily affirmations about health. And I would listen to podcasts, like I said, read books. And I noticed my energy increasing and I started to feel like I could do this. And at 50 years old, I had to play mind games with myself. And I told myself I only was going to do this for 1 month. I had invested $300 in products to do this plan. And so after 30 days, I could stop. But when I got to the end of the 30 days, I had lost 17 pounds. And I began to notice an improvement in my appearance, my energy level. No one else really noticed at this point, but I was starting to notice. And so I decided to sign up for a second month. I love things being organized. I love a clean area. So I also added a chart in my journal and I just numbered 1 to 31 and told myself that I had to purge that many items every day. I could donate, throw away, or sell these. So one day if I cleaned out a drawer and found 5 items to get rid of, I'd cross the number 5 off. The next day if I cleaned my closet out and found 22 items to get rid of, I'd cross the number 22 off. And so every day I had to cross off one of the numbers 1 through 31. At the end of a month, that adds up to almost 500 items, 496 to be exact, that you've purged. So for me, purging my surroundings while I was purging bad food and bad habits from my body just really felt aligned. And 5 months later, I had some clean cabinets, organized closets, my storage room was clean, my classroom was clean, but my body was also at goal. I had arrived to my 50-pound weight loss. And it was here that I had to continue to remember that health, just like the cabinets and drawers and lawns, don't stay in great shape unless we keep at it. Every choice, every step, we might slide back a little bit with a few pounds or a few bad choices, or a drawer might get unorganized, or a lawn might have a couple of weeds creeping in. But we have to remember that they're daily practices and that we have to continue to level up those habits and not get complacent. Manifesting isn't something passive that we can just say, I want to lose 50 pounds and not do anything about it. I imagined a healthier, thinner me, and then I created habits to support that vision. We all know how important consistency is. If you are looking to make a change in your life, write a clear statement, a goal about what you want. Then create a daily affirmation aligned with your goal. Visualize your success every day. When I wanted an unhealthy food item, I'd just ask myself if a fit version of me would sabotage her progress like that. Track your wins in a journal to reinforce your progress. It's so much fun to look back and to see how far you've come and to remind yourself of the hard work you put in. It's so important to match your mindset work with concrete action steps. What is one thing that you can visualize and act on today to move you to a more joyful life? Manifestation isn't magic. It's about aligning your mind with your actions. Start by writing one clear goal and planning your first step toward it. Thank you so much for joining me in my first podcast, and I invite you to subscribe to my podcast, Project You 2.2, and I would love for you to share your manifestation wins with me.